Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we have with us Stacey Brown Randall with Growth by Referrals. Welcome to the program, Stacey.
Thank you, Mike, for having me on. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So I love Growth by Referrals because we all like referrals and we know that it leads to growth, but I think there's a massive disconnect with, I do business by referral, and then when you really look at it, it's like, really? What are you doing to, are you getting referrals by design or by accident? So I would love to have you let's focus on obviously that, but give us a little background, what led you into this industry and starting your firm.
Sure. So I am actually here where I am with my current business and focusing on helping folks generate referrals without asking because I had to learn the hard way. Mm-hmm. So the reality of it is I had a business that was an HR consulting firm that I ran for many years, and I had clients like KPMG and BDO, Coca-Cola Bottling Consolidated, Myers-Lance. Those were my clients and some big-name clients. And unfortunately, even with those types of clients, my first business failed. And when I kind of unpacked how that experience happened and why that happened to me, after I kind of got over the ego blow, and I was kind of looking at, okay, why did this business fail? What I realized is I never figured out how to touch business development every day in a way that was going to work for me. But I had determined that referrals would work for me, but I didn't know how. And so when I was working at a corporate job in between the first business failure and starting this business that I've now been in for a number of years, what I really paid attention to was how am I going to build a business so that I can generate new clients in a way that I'm going to enjoy and that I'll actually do. And I kind of stumbled upon, some information that's out there on referrals, and I didn't like most of it. I thought most of it wasn't actually truly helping you generate referrals. It was more just generic marketing, or it was more networking strategies that were wrapped up as packaging and referrals. And so I just set out to figure out, okay, how do I crack this code of generating referrals? How can I do it without asking? Because asking to me feels like cold calling. Even if I know the person asking for a referral kind of has that cold call feel to me. And how can I do it differently? And that's what I did. And with this business, and I did it for self-survival. I didn't do it because I expected to teach people years later on how to do it. I did it because I couldn't have another business failure. So my first year in business, I generated 112 referrals, and I've generated triple-digit referrals year after year since then. And my clients just started asking, okay, what are you doing? What is the system you're following, and can you teach it to me? So I started teaching it to my clients. They loved it. They started having success with it, sometimes better success than me. And that's when I realized that more people need to understand what this referral thing is all about, what it actually means.
Yeah, I think that's I love when I hear stories like that because guess what? We all need to have a system that works, and I think you said something interesting, asking for or getting referrals without asking for them. And so I have zero clue what your answer will be, but hopefully it's different than just do a good job and your good job speaks for itself and people will want to send you business, so let's go a little deeper on that.
So that's a great question. Yes, I always tell folks, you don't need to ask for referrals, but you don't do nothing. You actually have to do some things to kind of generate referrals. But to your point, though, Mike, it starts with doing a great job because nobody refers crappy work. They just don't do it. So you have to be able to give somebody a great experience. You have to give them what I refer to as a sticky client experience so that there's a reason to start with to refer you. Then from there, we kind of look at the folks who will refer you or are already referring you. And I tell folks, when you're looking at your base of clients, probably only about 30% of your clients kind of have the mindset to refer you naturally. Not something you have to teach them, right? And then you probably have centers and influence or people in your network that also will refer you too. And, the pieces of that formula that fit together is, yes, do great work. And then, yes, build a relationship with those people where the relationship is more based on them than it is on you, right? And then make sure what you're doing to continue that relationship keeps you top of mind. And what I don't mean is send out an e-newsletter every week, and I don't mean you have to grab a beer with everybody every week after work to keep it going. There's different things that we do where we kind of create this experience where we stay top of mind, but it's an authentic experience that the person on the other end, the referral source, is receiving to where when we build this experience with them and this relationship with them, that is where referrals come from. And then there's some intentionality that we do with that as well.
Yeah, I think that it's every time I think of that question, or the topic of getting referrals or earning referrals, you feel like you remember those old-time movies where the bellhop would bring your, luggage up, and then they would stand there literally with their hand out. Or stand there, right? And I think that's what a lot of people think about and feel they're doing when they even broach the R word, do you have any referrals? So I think that having a system in place where you're doing, the bare bones minimum, it's kind of like, do you want a happy client or raving fans? Well, happy client is like, raving fans, that's where we're at. And I think the bare bones minimum is we got to do a darn good job in working with our clients so that then they feel like, wow, but then you're saying it's even more than that. So what is like one example of one thing, providing value or staying top of mind without sending out a, weekly e-newsletter? What's one tactic that you would recommend that you've seen works?
Sure. And I talk about these tactics as experiences or just touch points. And I think when people hear me talk about like creating experiences and touch points, think, oh my gosh, that's so much work. And it doesn't have to be. I tell folks that your experiences fall, your touch points fall on what I refer to as a memory runway. And the more you do at the higher end, the less you have to do. So I'll give you an example kind of in that middle to higher end of that memory runway, which is a gift. And I tell folks, you don't have to actually do any gift as a part of your referral generating experience plan that you're actually doing with your referral sources, but it's the best example for me to give in this situation. So last year for my top referral sources, and these are folks who generate a number of referrals for me, and I'm not talking one or two a year. I'm talking we're either closing in on double digits or they're well into double-digit referrals a year for me. So I don't have 30 of these top referral sources, but I have a good half dozen or so, maybe a little bit more than that really generate a number of referrals for me. And so for them, what I did at the end of the year for the holiday is that I sent them each this little tiny gumball machine that was filled with M&Ms. And in the M&Ms, the colors of the M&Ms were their company colors, not mine, their company colors. It also included a Merry Christmas as one of the words on one of the M&Ms. It also included a picture of them. So I had a picture of some of these folks. If I didn't have a picture of them, I went and found a picture of it, just Google Images and found a picture of them. So their face was on the M&Ms as well, in addition to another one also said then referrals rock. And so it was all about them. Like they were literally, it was funny because I got a lot of posting of me on social media like, oh my gosh, our picture is on these M&Ms. This is amazing. It was in their company colors. And the card was really specific. And it just said, I think back to the year that I had this year, and you were a major part of that because you referred me. And then I listed out by name the people they referred to me, which is a key point that I teach, is that connection to the name so they don't forget who they referred in January when it's December. And I just said, and I appreciate the belief you have in me to help the people you know and care about. And that's the intentionality behind it. It was something they didn't expect. So I tell folks, your experiences, your touch points, your tactics should be memorable and meaningful. One or the other, both of you can hit it, right? And so those M&Ms, it's just one example, but they loved it. They very much were like, this is one of the best gifts I've ever received. And, of course, that only sets them up to want to continue to pour into my business. And sometimes that looks like referrals for these folks, almost always, but in other ways too, because they know that I did that and I was being intentional. It was about them. It wasn't because I needed more referrals or I wanted more referrals. That is going to be a benefit, but it's because I was legitimately and intentionally and genuinely thanking them for supporting me.
Yeah, that's really huge and cool. And sometimes I think people feel like, oh, man, that's a lot of steps. But if you are in a business where you're selling pencils and someone referred someone to buy a box of pencils, you're probably not going to go to those lengths. But in a business where it's a nice piece of business and someone sends you one or two referrals, for that year or that quarter or whatever time frame, why not? That's how much did you spend in advertising to get that customer? We see on Shark Tank so much. What's the cost of acquisition? What's the cost per lead? And we need to know these numbers in our business. But when you get a referral, you didn't do Facebook ads. You didn't do a magazine ad. You didn't do any of that. You didn't have a sales team. Someone referred you, and that's a big deal.
When you have a business that operates from referrals, to your point, it saves you a ton of time and a ton of money. And if I think about like what these referrals have meant to me over the course of the year, if I think about like one referral source in particular and what their referrals have meant to me over the course of the year, some of these folks, the business brings me somewhere between $10,000 and $30,000 worth of business. And so when you think about it in that range, it was worth a $50 little gumball machine of M&Ms with her picture on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, and that's all I had to do. Now, granted, that's not the only thing I did. I do other things throughout the year, and they definitely get thank you cards for me, and there's other things that I do throughout the year that kind of pour into that relationship with them. But yeah, to your point, I'll spend $50 all day long if that means a referral's going to show up that, to your point, I do nothing for except then take really good care of.
You know, and I think that makes 1,000% sense, and it's huge. So you got to have a tracking system so you know who sent what. So that's important.
Okay.
Then you got to have a reminder system so that you're going to do it however long. And my advice would be to have like a tiered system where not only are you sending like people a certain type of gift for a certain number of referrals. So, for instance, if someone sent you, 10, 20, 30, 40,000 in business, they're going to get something a lot different than someone that sent you 2,000. And so I think that makes sense. But I think it's kind of like the, recency concept where, if someone sent a referral and it comes in, you should probably be thinking about it. I'm positive you teach this, but as soon as the referral happens, in that first phone conversation, even if no business transpires, something, email, phone call, video email, gift card, something just to say thank you for the introduction, I'll keep you posted, rather than hoping that it turns into business. Because I had a client once that said, I send, whatever, letter or whatever it is when business closes. And I said, yeah, but here's the deal. If they sent you 10 or 15 people, because he was in auto insurance business, they're thinking of you to refer business to you. Who cares whether they chose you or not, or your salesperson couldn't close it or not? You've got to reward them, kind of like that Pavlov's dog. And this particular person started sending a pack of juicy fruit gum every time a referral happened, and I know that I received a few of those packs, and it was interesting because there was no, personalized M&Ms, but it was cool. It was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's neat. And every single time you then chew a piece of that gum, you're thinking of that person, and then it's like, oh, yeah, I need to send him this. So even more so, 1,000% more when you're getting these personalized M&Ms. They're thinking of you, and it's memorable. That's really huge. I love that.
Yeah, and I would say to your point, right, I always tell folks when you receive the referral, you have to reward the right behavior, and that's the referral received, regardless if they become a client or not. So that's huge. And, most people say, well, what do I do when I receive a referral? And I tell folks there's a lot of things you could do, but the number one thing you have to do is you have to send a handwritten thank you card. And the reason for that is that when I noticed you took time to do something, it matters more to me. It takes time to sit down and write a handwritten thank you card. It doesn't take any time to shoot off an email. It just doesn't. Right? So if I get a handwritten thank you card from you, I'm like, whoa, that took some time. I know it only cost you 49 cents, right? The cost of a stamp with a card, but that means more to me, right? And to your point, it's kind of, it's setting it up, that conditioning for me to know that when I refer, you value it, and you value it right away. And that's a really important piece that, I think people kind of forget is that, yes, when we receive a referral, right away with a thank you card. And to your point, when people send me a couple, I'll throw in a gift card. I like the juicy fruit pack of gum. I think that's great. I'll throw in a gift card, or and I know things about my referral sources. So I know if my client has small children or dogs, and I'm more likely to throw in an Auto Bell, which is a local car wash here, but a car wash gift certificate, gift card in with that thank you note. Or if I know they love, like Starbucks coffee, I could throw that in, because I know that matters to them. They're not always going to get a gift card, but that's part of my thank immediately, and that's really, really important. And to your point, the only way to manage the system, because some people have, a dozen referral sources, and some people have more like 20 or 30, is exactly your point. I teach people to tier it out, and I do gold, silver, bronze, but you can call it whatever you want, and it's based on the number of referrals or the amount, but however that person designed their certain tiers to be, and then we do more for the gold and less for the bronze, and not everybody becomes a gold, silver, or bronze. Mm-hmm. Some people are just clients that are clients, and you love them for being a client, but since they've never referred you, they never get this extra layered on experience with you for generating referrals where your gold, silver, bronze, or whatever you call them, sit.
Yeah, that's huge, and it's got to be something where you know when this happens, then that happens, and then when this happens, this other thing happens, and whatever internal, it doesn't matter if it's an Excel file or a CRM, but something needs to trigger you and your team to be able to do that and keep up with it. So that's huge. Hey, a lot of people talk about B2B and B2C, but I know you teach about H to H. So what is H to H?
Yes. So a lot of people ask me, hey, I'm in B2B, will this work for me? Or they always get that sense, this will probably work for B2C, but what about B2B? And I'm B2B, and it's worked for me. But I tell them, it doesn't matter. B2B, B2C, it doesn't matter. What we're after and where the system works best for people is when they're in H to H sales, which is human to human, meaning high touch versus highly wired. So I wouldn't tell someone to go through my online course or to work with me if they were Amazon, right? Because I don't need to talk to anybody to decide I'm going to buy a book from Amazon or a pair of shoes from Tom's Shoes, right? Like I don't need to talk to anybody to go do it. But high-touch type positions are the ones where there's usually a lot of you, right? So I have lots of options for a financial advisor or a realtor or a commercial broker or a financial advisor. I've got lots of options for business coaches or whatever I'm looking for. People in those industries, home builders, interior designers. If there's a lot of you and you're high-touch, meaning people have to meet you face-to-face to decide they're going to do business with you, that group of folks is crazy uniquely prepared and positioned to generate referrals, and they're just not taking advantage of it. So because you already have to build a relationship with your client face-to-face, you're in a position to generate more referrals. It's the same for attorneys and CPAs. I mean, the list goes on for those kind of high-touch ones, but it's all about the human-to-human. If your client has to get to know you, to know, like, and trust you before they'll do business with you, you're in H-to-H sales, and you should be generating over 50% of your business from referrals. And if you're not, something's wrong. And what I would love to see is that those folks get to more like 90, 95% from referrals where I am, because it's completely possible. You just have to know the systems and the steps and the process to follow.
Yeah, that's just huge. And you said a bunch of words that are massive: system, steps, process. And it has to be a set process. It has to be literally something that you follow and not just try, but it's got to be something you do. And guess what? You can't keep score. You can't go, well, I sent this person the M&Ms and where's more referrals? And you've got to do it because it's the right thing to do.
I always felt that I have 3 platinum principles when it comes to generating referrals. And the first one is everything we do is about them. It is not about you. Because the minute you make it about you, you've thrown off the balance of how referrals actually work. And so when we're doing anything, creating these experiences, these touch points, we have to do it about them, the referral source. And so it has to be about what they need and what their needs are and how we can help them, because then it does come back around. That is truly how it works. And obviously, of course, you're going to do more for those that generate you more referrals in the hopes that you get more. But, sometimes I've gotten a lot of referrals for someone one year and not a lot the next year, and it doesn't change how I feel about them as a person, right? But at the end of the day, when I look at it, it's about them. It's not about me. But if I do the right thing, the system tells me that I will generate the results that I need.
Exactly. Hey, so let's wrap up with what's the best way that people can learn more about you and your system and your strategies and connect with you.
Absolutely. So, I have an online program that people can certainly check out, but I would say first, kind of get to know me a little bit. I have a great group on Facebook called Referrals Without Asking, and if anyone wants to join it, they certainly can. If they're on Facebook, they can just go to Referrals Without Asking, and I will happily accept them into the group. They can learn a little bit more about me that way. I do some 5-day challenges as well that are free. Jumpstart your referrals in 5 days, and you can learn more about it. And I'll put this information plus a PDF they can download called The 7 Deadly Sins of Generating Referrals. It's kind of the what not to do when you're trying to generate referrals. I'll put that all on a page that your listeners can go to, and I'll put it at growthbyreferrals.com/Mike Saunders, and that way they can find all that information and kind of learn more about me.
Excellent. Well, I loved learning about your system. Agree with it 1,000%. So thank you so much for your time, Stacey.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.